The Oscars are just around the corner, so I thought I'd throw it back and give my thoughts on a certain superhero film that earned its right to be acknowledged at the 2019 Oscars. Hey, what's up guys? Alan here. Welcome to another episode of Thoughts on This, where I speak on my thoughts. And with the Oscars just a few days away, Avengers Doomsday coming out later this year, and Black History Month ended just a couple of days ago, I'll be giving my thoughts on Black Panther, directed by Oscar nominee and director of Sinners Ryan Coogler. Black Panther tells the story of T'Challa taking his place on the throne as king of the secretly advanced African nation Wakanda. Along the way, he faces several challenges, from his vengeful cousin taking the throne and the effects of the country's isolating policy has on the rest of the world. The film was released back in 2018, right before Avengers Infinity War, as part of Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and within the Infinity Saga. It features a predominantly black cast, including Michael B. Jordan, Lupita Nyong'o, Denai Guerrera, Letitia Wright, Winston Duke, Martin Freeman, Andy Serkis, Angela Bassett, and the late Chadwick Boseman as the titular character. It received critical acclaim and was the first MCU film to be nominated in the Best Picture category at the Oscars. A sequel to the film was released back in 2022 as the final film of Phase 4 and part of the multiverse saga. Now, what did I think about this film? This film came out during a time where I was really started to get invested into the MCU. At the time, there were only a few films that I liked. I liked The Guardians, The First Avengers, and Spider-Man Homecoming with Tom Holland. And yes, I did see some of the older ones with Tobey Maguire, but still, I wasn't much of a fan. That was until I saw Black Panther, which I was very intrigued about, so I decided to check it out. I went into it blind, and I really liked it. Also, the first time I watched it, I did fall asleep. Not because it was boring, but because I was super tired that day and the seats were super comfortable, so don't you dare come at me at the comments. But regardless, I really did like the movie. It was so good, and the second time I watched it, which I did stay awake for this time, I enjoyed it even more. And the more I watched it, the more I started to appreciate it for what it is and what it means to people and the legacy that it left behind, despite it being less than 10 years. And I love how it's different from your typical comic book superhero movie in terms of the story and setting. Having it represent a specific culture is what makes it feel authentic and more than just another Marvel movie. It's a cultural epic film with action, Shakespearean drama, and futuristic advanced looking technology. And I really like the story. It's unique, well handled, and did a fantastic job in tackling these serious complex topics, which also helped progress the character development. The performances were empowering and captivating. Even though each character had a distinct and unique personality, the dynamic between them was unblemished. Michael B. Jordan committed when it came to portraying the villain. Not only did he crush it in being a bad guy, he also found a way to make Killmonger complex. His performance was a balance of vulnerability and rage. He's evil and easy to hate, but his actions are also understandable and justified. The audience can agree of where he was coming from, as it makes sense, and honestly, it's almost a mirror reflection of our world today. And I love how they incorporated real world topics. It made the film had its own identity. Everyone else in the cast made a lasting impression, despite them being side characters. Each one had their moment to shine. Denai Guerrera and Lupita Nyong'o were strong, fearless, and independent as Okoye and Nakia, adding to that ever-growing list of strong female characters in the MCU. Guerrera was a force of nature with all her action scenes, while dropping the occasional one-liner that made me laugh. She was definitely one of my favorites. And Nyong'o balanced that out with the emotional strength and intelligence into her performance, making her multi-dimensional. Winston Duke and Letitia Wright were just hilarious in this film. M'Baku started out as pretty unlikable, but became more charismatic and entertaining when he appeared in more scenes. Shuri was an instant favorite the minute she first appeared. The chemistry between her and T'Challa was consistently entertaining, and her comedic timing was on point. Both actors stole the show every time they were on screen. Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis also made the film entertaining. Serkis was weirdly eccentric as the initial villain and even gave us one of the film's most memorable scenes. Freeman to me was pretty underrated. I loved his character development from being a sketchy character to a very likable ally. And he owned it. Chadwick Boseman's performance was powerful and filled with nuanced characterization. He was loyal, wise, noble. He made the character his own. And what made him great was that he was more than just a king. He was someone that was driven to challenge different perspectives and passionate about doing what's right, while discovering what kind of ruler he wants to be. There were so many layers to his characters where he wasn't perfect, but was striving to be better. And that's what made him so likable. And it's still sad that he is no longer with us. He was the heart and soul of the film, and rewatching this film now feels weird. This was somebody I was really starting to get invested in and was really looking forward to seeing more of after Endgame. Despite the little time he had in the franchise, appearing in 4 films in total, he already made a great impact. And I thought there was so much more for him to accomplish. He was gone way too soon. But it doesn't change the fact that his performance was groundbreaking. He may be gone, but his legacy lives on. The costume and production design fit with the aesthetic of the film. The attention to detail in these costumes to make it distinct to each character was innovative, and I also love how it reflected the African culture while still having that flashy superhero look. And I know I said this before, it feels authentic. And the production value as well did a great job in reflecting that culture. It feels immersive, and it looks like a futuristic African city. It was a good blend of cultural representation while showcasing advanced technology. My only critique was that the CGI could have been better. I thought it looked unfinished, and it looked like something straight out of a video game, which kinda hinders some of the action scenes which were just as thrilling and exhilarating to witness. But everything else was a visual spectacle. Another element that blended with the film's aesthetic was the music, but more specifically the score. I love how we got a variety of different sounds, from the African drums, the hip-hop beats, and orchestral film score gluing it all together. What also made the score unique was how certain motifs are distinct with each character, like the African chants for the Dora Milaje and the trap beats for Killmonger. Even the song selection fit with the aesthetic and certain scenes. The song for the car chasing complemented the high-speed thrill of that whole sequence. It was all very distinct to the setting and culture. The film as a whole gives off the same feel as other MCU films while also delivering something fresh. The light humor that the franchise is typically known for is present and on point, courtesy of mostly Shuri, who was the comedic relief of this entire film. And I love how it strays away from the usual superhero narrative and setting. It makes the film stand out so much more on its own. Overall, great film. The sequel, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, took a rather interesting approach, mostly with the cast. As you know, much of the original cast from the first film did return to reprise the role, with the exception of most notably Chadwick Boseman, who Marvel decided not to recast. So this film had a lot to live up to with the passing of Boseman, which left a huge hole to fill. And I was initially skeptical about the film not having T'Challa recasted and Shuri taking on the mantle, as I thought it was way too soon for her. I went into it with pretty little expectation, and honestly, it was not that terrible. I thought it was a good film. There were a lot of things to like about it. The CGI was improved a bit, the production design was as immersive, the cinematography was mesmerizing, I thought the slow-mo shots were epic, and the music was as impacting. The performances were still as powerful, with some taking it up a notch. Letitia Wright did a fantastic job stepping into the lead role. She was very versatile, that we've seen multiple sides of Shuri that we literally have never seen before. She has always been an entertaining character, but her development throughout this film was elevated. Her character arc of going through stages of grief and taking up the Black Panther mantle had viewers like myself connect with her. And I love that they capitalized on T'Challa's death by making it a central plot device. It worked with the story and Shuri's own character arc. It also helped set the tone for the rest of the film and Angela Bassett's performance, which was truly outstanding. Her performance in the first film was fine, but this film took it to a whole other level. You can feel the pain and emotion in every word she says. It was a performance worthy of Oscar recognition. The only issue I had with this film was the story. I thought it was mid compared to the first film. I was initially invested with Namor and the Talokan people, but as soon as we got deeper and into the halfway point, the pacing started to feel slow, I started to lose interest, it was inconsistent and very convoluted. I felt like it dragged on for too long and it was hard to keep track of every character. Speaking of which, I thought some of the new characters made great additions. Aneka is easily likable. I like how she stands out from the Dora by being this rebellious but loyal soldier. And props to Michaela Cole, she was amazing in this film. Kinda wish she was in more scenes though. Riri Williams was also likable and charismatic. Her appearance in the film may be a bit out of place. She still made the film fun, and I love the relationship she has with Shuri. Their interactions are always pleasing to watch, and props to Dominique Thorne for giving us a pretty solid first impression and setting up her larger presence in her own series, which I haven't seen by the way, so don't spoil it for me. Just kidding, I don't care. Sorry. Undoubtedly, the best part about this film was the tribute to Chadwick Boseman. I respect Marvel's decision to not recast the character, but instead give him a proper send-off as a way to salute Boseman. The first few minutes of the film, starting off with T'Challa's death right away, was emotionally gut-punching. You can feel the emotions throughout that whole scene. It was the right amount of sorrow, and Rihanna's song in the credits was the perfect song that emulates it. It was the best way to honor both the character and Boseman. The first film was a cinematic masterpiece. The cinematography, performances, action sequences, costume design, music, and overall world building was all around astonishing. Everything about this film is what made it worthy of its Best Picture nomination all those years ago. Its themes and message are universal and connects with audiences everywhere, and this film caters to all types of audiences, from the Marvel fanbase and the Black community. While the second one has some story and pacing issues, it was still an equally good film that was still pretty watchable. It's one of the few franchises that has remained consistently entertaining, and hopefully by the time the third film comes out, it will be even better. Alright, that sums up all of my thoughts, and if you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments, and if you haven't already subscribed, that would really mean a lot. That's all I have to say, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!